Welcome back to Hobby Jogger Elite. In a recent training update video, I talked about how I was approaching my first half marathon race here in a couple weeks for the first time in a while. So I'm going to sort of walk you through what a half marathon taper looks like. I remember when I first started racing, first started following like structured training plans, watching videos on running, people oftentimes, once the training plan was sort of wrapping up, reference this taper week, this taper that needed to take place, that needed to begin. And as a very early on beginner runner, I saw and heard the word a lot, but I didn't know exactly what it looked like. And since then, I've learned that part of the reason why is that it can't be directly defined for everybody. This isn't an across the board, one size fits all process, but I thought it would at least be useful to make a video detailing what it looks like for that sort of 2-week period at the end of a training block when it comes to my half marathon training. So this is going to be all about my taper process. Let's go. Today is Wednesday, official beginning of my taper for my first true half marathon it's actually been like exactly 2 years since I have officially tested my abilities at the half marathon distance. I've of course raced half marathons since then, but they have either been for fun or to help pace somebody else. And 2 years ago, I did a solo time trial and I ran 1:25:31, about 6:31, 6:32 pace per mile. And I'm definitely trying to beat that in 10 days. Still keep things in like the upper 40-mile range even when I'm doing my taper in these last 10 days or so. But regardless, I'm going to be doing my final workout today. You will sort of see your training benefits, fitness benefits from a workout at a minimum of like 10 days to 2 weeks from the day that you do that workout. So if anything, this is just sort of a good way to sort of keep some speed in my legs. Let's get into this workout for today. And since we're talking about the taper, it may be useful to just define what it is we are talking about. You are doing less in quantity and in intensity with your running in the last couple weeks before your goal race. So usually tapers vary depending on how long or how intense your race effort is going to be. If you're just simply running a race for fun, if you're not really running for a specific time, then you don't really need to change much out of your routine. I know people who both run for fun and people who run for a specific time and pursue goals with their running who don't change their mileage at all. They just kind of decrease the intensity of their running in the last 2 or so weeks before their race. Again, the amount of weeks that you're sort of bringing that quantity down or bringing that intensity down is entirely personal. I've tried it before where I followed a training plan that pretty much decreased everything from 3 weeks out of the race until race day, and I found that to be entirely too long for a taper. It wasn't too drastic at first, it was more of a gradual decline until race day. That amount of time before a race, not doing my usual amount of quantity or intensity with my running, just kind of threw me out of whack. And I found that similarly with anything really up to 2 weeks. The thing to keep in mind is you should do what is best for you. Again, I know people who have shot for similar goals that I have that will not taper at all. Now, I personally wouldn't suggest that. There should be some kind of taper where you are pursuing the goal of feeling fresh on race day, and you know that your taper is working if in those last, let's say 2 weeks, you are feeling fresher than ever because maybe you're running 2-3 less miles per day on average than you were during your peak week or during an average week of your build up. Maybe you feel like you can run your easy paces faster than ever before. Your heart rate is lower than it ever was before on your easy everyday runs. That's not a sign that you need to pick up your intensity again. That's a sign that the taper is working. So I would encourage everyone out there who is trying to taper or looking to shake things up with their taper a little bit. Think about how you you benefit the most in a taper? Do your legs start to feel better when you vastly reduce your mileage and your intensity? How does your mind work when it's being influenced by that reduction? And just sort of try different things during different training blocks, because like everything running related, like everything human related, there is no one size fits all approach to tapering. But the end goal is leading up to your race, you should feel fresh and you should feel ready to put in some really hard work regardless of the distance you are running at, and that is how you will know the taper is working.
So the workout today, 3 by 1200 and 3 by 800. Nice short recoveries. It's always a weird balance that you need to strike with a taper workout. Shouldn't be too fatiguing. Should still get some turnover in. Should still be hard, but not hard to the point where you're still going to be tired from that workout in 3 days, 4 days, and especially by the time the race comes around. We were rocking the Brooks Hyperion Tempo today on this disgustingly foggy, humid day. I feel like I'm in Twin Peaks right now. Yeah, I kind of like to deprive myself of carbon-plated super shoes during the taper, just so that on race day, that sort of extra liveliness underfoot, that energy return is jarring and is like surprising how much easier it feels than running in something that's a bit more low profile. Humidity is like enveloping. I am sort of happy about this though. Sort of sudden spike in humidity and temperature. Springtime in the Northeast is always such an unpredictable gauntlet of weather. It might be 30 degrees one morning and 75 degrees that afternoon, or you might get snow in the middle of April, or you might get 80-degree temperatures at 10 a.m. on a weekend. Honestly, getting this sort of humidity and heat acclimation over these last 2 weeks during the taper leading up to the race can only get me sort of prepared if it happens to be a little bit warmer on race day. About 3 miles of warm-up done. Main goal of today, don't be a hero, right? Don't overstride, don't get hurt, don't push things, don't try to set any 1200 or 800 meter PRs. The idea is to do 1200 meter reps, half marathon, getting down into 10K race pace, and then the 800s and the 10K down into 5K race pace. Definitely feeling the humidity today. It is hot, sticky. Came in at about around 6:10, 6:11 pace. So not too bad. Definitely felt hard. It's not easy. About 6:12, 6:13 pace on that 1200. I was a little nervous about doing long recoveries today, 2 minutes between each 1200, but I need every second of those 2 minutes right now. All right, third 1200 meter rep. Let's go. Another one around 6:10, 6:11. Close out the 1200. This humidity is getting to me. 3 workouts in 1 week last week. Probably not fully recovered from all the fatigue, but that's what the taper's for, right? 10 days out, hopefully things are a little bit less hard in a weekend or two. All right, 3 800 meter reps coming, let's go. Just finished the last 800 meter rep. I'll put the times paces on the screen here. That was a bad workout, to put it gently. 3 days ago, I was cruising at 6:15 pace on these 2 mile reps in my long run. It's like miles 8 through 13. I was like handling that with ease. That was on Sunday. Here we are on Wednesday. And not a massive confidence booster for my last real workout. It's also worth noting that I felt a little under the weather, a little sick. Might be able to hear it in my voice since about Sunday after my long run. And I felt like that was affecting me a little bit, that I really couldn't get my breath under control. Everything just kind of felt out of rhythm, felt out of whack with my breathing.
Good morning. It is just about 6 a.m. the Saturday a week out from the race. So if you are a week out from your race, it usually means that it is the day of your final long run. You can be running 12 or 13 just easy, steady miles, no workout, no race pace work, anything like that. This morning just got done eating a small breakfast, so I'll kind of wait for that to digest before we get out there. But the intention with this sort of final long run in the midst of the taper, not overdoing anything, keeping things easy, steady, controlled. I woke up, my house is like 5 degrees colder than it was when I went to bed. It is all of a sudden 30 degrees outside after being in the 70s all week. I was kind of hoping that it would be warm just to callous the body and mind a little bit with some heat training before a potential warmer race, but you take what you can get with the weather. So yeah, we'll catch up on the long run.
About 12 minutes into the final long run here, this training block, and on one of my usual haunts when it comes to this long run route, which sort of falls in line with what I've been talking about thematically with the taper week, or the taper in general, which is not throwing a wrench what you already do. This is not the time to introduce hills if you've never run hills. It's not the time to try out some daring new route and try something completely different from your usual training philosophy. Stick to what you know, stick to what's predictable and comfortable, and that'll definitely help you come race day. Right, half marathon distance long run done. About 7:45 a mile. That's it for the long runs.
Now Monday, and turns out the race is not Saturday. It is Sunday, so that means we have one extra day to recover for the taper. And that is good news because this is the beginning of the last week before the race takes place this coming weekend. And after my long run, a bit of a small injury that popped up earlier in my training block sort of flared up a little bit again. So upon, I wouldn't call it a steep descent, but down a pretty, I'd call it an extended downhill segment at the end of my long run on this past Saturday, which is now 2 days ago at this point, started to feel it sort of let me know that it was there. And I would say peaked at like a 2.5 out of 10 on the pain scale. Didn't think a lot of it. And today, on a very easy 7-mile run to start off the final taper week, it really let me know it was there. Didn't feel it really at all for the first 3.5 miles. And then as I turned left around a corner, and it's my right hip, so as it was on sort of the outside and like planting inward, it was like a sharp pain. That was probably like a 7 or an 8 out of 10, which obviously, if you are familiar with like ITB injuries, which I've had in the past, anything on your lower body, especially with like tendons, it's not a great sign. I was hoping this was behind me, and it doesn't seem like it fully is, which makes me a tiny bit nervous. Only 6 days away from race at this point. So what that means for me is I'm going to be a lot more intentional in my conservative approach with the rest of this taper, because I don't think it's going to magically disappear over the next 6 days, but I also think there are certain things that can be done to not make it worse. I may, despite really beautiful weather all of a sudden this week, do some lower impact, no elevation gain or loss treadmill running, and I may scrap the like practice at race pace tiny little taper week workout that I was going to do this Wednesday. I may take full rest days if it flares up at all anymore, and it may be a little bit more of a gamble than I thought it would be on race day. Still gonna give it a shot every single day, see what what the pain is sort of at, see if it's manageable. I don't know if it has just been like going around the same loop in the same direction too many times in a row over the past couple weeks, and that's just sort of like exacerbated what was already there at one point. We'll see how this progresses throughout the taper, but not the most fun start for the Monday of the final week. All right, it is Wednesday morning, so we are officially 4 days out from the half marathon, and today is the dress rehearsal. That's what a lot of training plans will call this, and usually I would say 4 days out is probably a good spot to do this, where you're going to do exactly what it sounds like. You are going to wear all of your race kit, everything you plan on wearing on race day, so everything from your hat to your sunglasses to your singlet or your shirt or your shorts, your half tights, your socks, and your race shoes. And you're probably going to do a mile or two, maybe if you're a bit higher volume, a bit more advanced, maybe up to 3 miles at goal race pace. So what that looks like for me in this particular week is going to be a 2-mile warm-up with 2 miles at goal half marathon race pace, and then a 2-mile cool down, so just 6 miles today. I'm going to do it on the treadmill because yesterday, Tuesday, after having that sort of hip flare-up on Monday, I decided to do my easy 6-mile run on the treadmill yesterday, and it didn't flare up at all. It felt great the whole time. It was like a little bit present after the actual run, but it wasn't painful at all. And I think that sort of reduced impact was really, really good for it. So if I can sort of like extend its recovery and continue to run on the treadmill, I'm gonna do what I can. After eating the breakfast that I intend to eat on race day as well, which is just a banana, 2 pieces of bread, some electrolyte mix, and my water. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed, keep trying to avoid high impact stuff, probably get outside and run tomorrow, as well as Friday and my shakeout before the race itself. Currently cooling down. Just got done with the 2 miles, goal race pace 6:23 a mile, and it felt really good. It is also extremely humid and warm in this basement right now, and my heart rate stayed pretty low. Felt smooth, no hip problems, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Happy I decided to do it on the treadmill. From here on out, this cool down, Thursday, Friday, Saturday runs, low mileage, easy stuff. Might throw a few strides in there, but the work is done. With the last work that is sort of beyond anything easy pace out of the way, and really only easy running from here on out at pretty low mileage runs, the only other thing to talk about is sort of like your nutritional approach. And again, depending on the distance or intensity of your race, this may not even be a factor with a lot of people. And for some people who are really shooting for great goals, they don't change their nutrition at all. Some people think it is effective to slightly sway your nutritional intake towards carbs a little bit more and make sure that your glycogen levels are just ready to put in some work by race day, so that you have plenty of fuel for your body to, feed on while you are racing hard. But again, that's not really as much of a focus at anything less than the marathon distance. I will probably eat a little bit more carb heavy a couple days out from the race, and it is now, getting down to crunch time. The race is in 2 days. I'll be traveling there, and from here, just gonna be eating good. I'll do another run today, as well as a small shakeout for the race on Sunday. But beyond that, that's everything for the taper. So to sort of sum everything up, pretty much from 2 weeks out, or if you want to look at it more from 10 days out, that's sort of Wednesday, a week and a half before your race, sort of a last workout if you want to, one that doesn't need to be too incredibly intense, but definitely gets some turnover in at your goal race pace, or preferably faster. And then from there towards the weekend, you get your last long run in. Again, it shouldn't be anything too incredibly taxing. And again, it will vary depending on the distance that you are tackling for your race. And then from there, maybe a quick little dress rehearsal 4 to 5 days before your race, where you're, wearing all the clothes you're going to wear on race day, doing a little bit of stuff at race pace. And from there, you're really just resting, doing a couple easy runs before the big day. So next time I see you, we will be talking about how the race went. Hope all of you are well out there. Hope your running is going great. Wish me luck for this race here in a couple days, and hopefully you learn more about the taper. See ya.